hello from a completely different place. I don't think I have filmed in the same place once, and that, I am just going to give myself grace with that. I really thought I was going to stick to one set, and it keeps changing and will always change, I think, which is part of the fun. Happy Libra season. We made it through the eclipse season. There might be a little bit of fog that follows us, but for the most part, we've really made it through the thick of it, which feels amazing, and we can kind of breathe for a little bit. I won't even begin to discuss any astrology that occurs after October because we're gonna coast through this energy for right now. So, hi, I am feeling kind of heavy. I just got done crying, which is great, because I felt like I was rushing my whole day in order to fit this perfect timeline to get this done. And then kind of had a whole breakdown about how I've been structuring my life and my routines, which is wonderful. And all of that is currently shifting, but I think that looking at it from the perspective that I did today, where I only had a small amount during the day to get this recorded and get this edited, I had a little bit of a breakdown. But that's okay. We are moving forward because I realized that I can just film in the dark and things don't have to be perfect, and I don't have to have the sun at a specific time, because this is also really fun and we get to just sit and chat in the dark, which is honestly probably more fitting for myself anyways, because I am a night owl. So, yeah, I feel a lot better. I think I'm really in a time period of trying my fucking best not to rush, and rush in the sense of just never being present because I'm always thinking about the next thing that I have to do. I'm winding down off of a really busy summer and also going through a lot of going through a lot of shifts and changes with my life and how my days are going to be structured, and they're all so wonderful. But still kind of recovering from that burnout a little bit. Eclipse season really, really hit me hard with the burnout. And I wish I could have taken a little bit longer, but I did take a few days to really, really, really unplug and recharge and do my best to just be, which was amazing. And I think that in doing that, it ushered a lot of changes that are unfolding right now, which is really exciting. But yeah, today felt a little defeating, just because I felt like a victim to my calendar. But we're moving forward from that because I got through it, and I also realized that I can make my own schedule and I can be flexible, and flexibility is the most important thing to me right now, when it comes to living my day-to-day, and not rushing, because rushing is a complete and utter illusion in itself. And when I actually slow down in the process of rushing, I realize that I am not saving any time. And I will never forget when my dad told me that, because it's unconscious. I don't mean to be rushing, but sometimes when I get in one of those like manic stages, I guess, I just unconsciously feel like I am rushing from place to place, even when I don't need to be. Like, I am putting the pressure on myself to rush, and that is the crazy part. I have become way more aware of it now, but sometimes I can just get in stressed out states for, a few hours to a few days where I just pause at the end of it, and I'm like, I was rushing for nothing, even if external things were seemingly making me rush. Like, at the end of it, I did not do anything to help myself in any way, shape, or form, because I remember I used to drive like a fucking maniac, and not because, I sucked, but I had this urgency. Like, I wasn't driving to be an asshole But I had this sense of urgency when I was a teenager, when I got in the car, that I just had to fucking send it. I don't know where it came from, probably because I was ran on such an insane schedule that didn't work well with my body. I just was in such like a nervous system overdrive. I was constantly in fight or flight, and I literally would go. So the fact that I did not get a ticket until I was 25 years old is insane, because I should have been put in jail with how fast I used to drive and how insane I used to drive. Just because I was rushing and I wasn't being present, and I thought that I was in such a hurry. And I'll never forget my dad telling me, you know, if you go 10, 15, 20 over, the matter, or sorry, if you go like, granted, this wasn't, I would go more than this, but if you go 10 over, 15 over the speed limit, the time that you're saving is seconds. Like, it's not like you are going to be instantly transported there so much faster and so much safer, and all of these opportunities are going to be there for you. You will literally save a few seconds. And of course, I was a teenager and I was dumb, so I was like, whatever. But it's true. You know, I think about, because I've been really bad at rushing in my mornings lately, which is very, very unlike me. But part of it has come from excitement, because I have things that I'm doing that I'm really excited about, which is really nice. And so I get up, and it's also summer. So I get up and I just am like, all right, like, I used to not even touch my phone for the first 2.5 hours of me being awake. Granted, I still don't. I still try to wait like 30 minutes. But it's like painful to do that. Which is so not like me. It used to be like 2.5 hours, and then I would grab my phone and still not even feel the urge. And I would just take my sweet time. And not that every single day needs to be that slow, but I just found that every single morning it was like, all right, get up, get straight out of bed, make your bed, let's go, like, get ready, let's get out of the house. And I don't love that. I do think that it's nice because I'm excited to go places, and I think it's summer, and I think that I have a lot of energy. And so it honestly probably did really serve me for that season, but now it's literally like 2 days, 3 days. What day is it? It's already the 25th. Okay. Whatever. 3 days into fall, and I already feel it. I already feel the cocoon. I already feel the inward. I already feel like everything is slowing down very rapidly. It was like eclipse season felt slow in its own way, but the second that was over and we shifted, my body was like, and it's a different season, different energy, everything's different. And I immediately felt that pull inward, and I was like, I want to make soup. I want to stay home. I want to light my candle. I want to watch TV. Like, I want to be cozy. And I have had such a sense of urgency all summer that I almost was like, am I ever going to settle down? I never get the summer burst of energy that you're really supposed to with the seasonal cycle. I have always hated summer. I feel like I've probably already talked about that too many times, but I have always despised it. And this was the first summer that I genuinely had a really good time and loved it and felt like I was in tune with the energy and felt like, you know, taking action. And I worked maybe a little too hard, but I didn't really feel the burnout until the very end. I felt like I still managed it pretty well for the most part. It was just towards the end when my body was like, all right, it's time to start slowing down. And I was like, keep going. That I really felt the effects of that. But I am really slowing the fuck down, because especially I can see it, I can see it with this podcast, because it is something that I am so excited about. But like, part of my frustration and my cry earlier was because I have such an insane schedule at the moment, which it's shifting and it's changing, and that's okay. But it is insane, and I only had, you know, this tiny small block of time today where I was like, that's when I have to record. And I don't enjoy not feeling like I can be flexible. That's when I crack. And when the time hit that I was supposed to be filming, and I did not feel like it. I just was simply tired. I had worked a lot this morning and did a lot of stuff around the house that I needed to do. And it just broke me because, as I have now realized, it wasn't necessarily that I wasn't feeling good or anything. I was just frustrated because I want more time to be flexible. And that's on the way, and I know that it is, but I still had that, like, it felt like it triggered that sense of, like, you know, being in school and having such a rigid schedule that I was forced to follow as a teenager of, like, you go to school for this many hours and then you have practice and then you come home and you do homework and you literally have no time to exist or be a human. And if you can't do the things that you need to do in that allotted amount of time, you suck. And that was triggered for me, because that's not the life that I want to live anymore. And that way of living really fried my nervous system. Yeah, we'll talk about school on here, because that shit is horrifying. I like, I love learning, obviously. I love learning. I think about going back to school often because I really thought that I would be that person who got her PhD and spent most of her 20s in schooling, because I love learning and I love like the academic aesthetic. I love the idea of being in university and, you know, having colleagues and just the whole entire, like, I would live in a library if I could. But the structure of school does not work for me. And maybe master's and PhD is different. I don't know. I can't speak on that, but you know, undergrad was a little bit better, I guess, because you did get to kind of like pick your schedule and be an adult a little bit. But like high school, what the fuck was that? Like, I could not function at all. I do not function like that. It was like, wake up at sunrise, get ready, go sit in fluorescent lights surrounded by the same people that you have to see every day, most of which you would never, ever choose to be around, but you have to be around them, and get a half-ass education of which you wish there was more of. And half the time I would go to school and we would like watch movies and we would just do stupid shit. And I'd never understood why I had to be there. Like, my body did not function well in that. I loved learning, but I did not like going to school and having it, dare I say, this sounds whatever, but like, it was redundant. And I would go in and have a PowerPoint slide read to me when I could have read that in 15 minutes on my own at home and I would have retained it, you know. I think, and maybe I just got a shitty education, I don't know. I always kind of like had that envy for certain people. I felt like I did not have the education that I could have had, but also I don't think education's perfect, and I think that the system is just messed up in general. But there was just so much of my time in school where I sat there and I was like, what the fuck is this? What is going on? And I never understood it. I tried to fit into it as best as I could, and I did a good job at morphing that, because I was like, well, at least at the end of the day, I'm still getting knowledge and like I can go home and read. And I did enjoy studying and doing those things, but I did not enjoy rigorous timelines. I did not enjoy standardized testing. I thought that was so stupid. I was good at it, but it was so stupid. I never felt like I was actually learning. I felt like I mastered a system that didn't really even teach me anything. You know, I felt like, especially with standardized tests and things like that, I would go and I would ace it. This sounds so assholey, but like I would go and I would ace it and I made good grades, but I felt like I wasn't learning. I felt like I just was memorizing the structure of a system that was trying to like keep me trapped, you know? And I did. So I passed and I did great and I made wonderful grades, but I left and, you know, I'm reteaching myself a lot of things, especially in like the history realm right now, because I love history. And I took such rigorous history courses. Like world history was my favorite course ever, but I was trying to cram so much knowledge into my brain and also just yeah, I was trying to cram so much into my brain in such a short amount of time. Like even just having, like a college level world history exam, like anything could be on that in the history of the world. So I just was trying to cram as much shit into my brain as possible that nothing really, like, I didn't retain a lot. I retained more from history than I think I did anything. Like math, I didn't. I just memorized it and it was out, in one ear out the other. But I retained a little bit more than I thought, but not nearly as much as you, whoa, not nearly as much as I should have, given the level of intensity in which I studied these topics, and more than just a year for some of them. So I think looking back, it's kind of like it's frustrating, very, very frustrating to see the system and see the system that I went through, and then watch people who are younger than me and family members go through the system and be frustrated with it. And I'm like, absolutely, as you should. I think it's, we're just told to show up and go to this shit every single day. And if you have an opinion about it, doesn't matter. You still have to go legally. And I think that is such an insane concept. I just like, I, the further away I get from it, the more aggravated I get about it. I mean, like, I don't want to have kids, but the thought of sending them through that system, I mean, I would homeschool them point blank. I would never send my children into the school system. I just don't think that would ever even be something I would consider. How did I get here? One of my notes is just soup. So I don't know how I got here. Oh, okay. Yes, the trigger. um that triggered me because I think that after high school, once I got into college, I had more appreciation for college because I could create my own schedule, especially once I switched to a smaller university. The larger university was a pain in my ass, but the smaller university I actually felt like was structured really decent. I also was a comm major, so it wasn't as annoying. I wasn't taking tests. I was doing speeches and I was doing projects and I was presenting things and creating movies and writing. So it definitely was way more my speed. That's why I think I don't regret college as much. I just also had COVID fuck with it in the middle of it. So I really didn't get my full college experience. I don't think a lot of people did. But that I had more hope for. Going back to get my master's, it would really have to be under the perfect circumstances. And I'm not opposed because I do feel like it would be different because it would be in a specific discipline with people who care. Because even undergrad was filled with people who just also were told to go get a fucking degree because that's what we're told to do. So a lot of people didn't care. And I hated being in classes with people who didn't care because I genuinely cared. And that felt really strange. I've always wanted to be in a setting with people who gave a shit about what they were learning about and like what they were doing. I'm like, did I ever feel that way? Maybe in like one class, two classes. No, not really. um, okay. There was my philosophy. My philosophy. My philosophy professor was incredible. And I loved that class. That was actually probably my favorite course I ever took in college. I don't really know if anybody else in the class gave a fuck because I didn't really pay attention to them ever. I was so just engulfed, and I have been looking this way the entire time. I was so engulfed in the subject that I really didn't give a shit. I was with a lot of freshmen and I took it like my junior year. Because I avoided philosophy for a really long time. It made me really nervous because I was very religious. I knew that the second I set foot in a philosophy course, my entire worldview and perspective was going to change. And it did. That was the first time in my life that I ever felt like I was presented with different perspectives with reason. it wasn't just like, well, don't believe in that, believe in nothing. There were other perspectives that were handed to me, and I was forced to question why I believed what I did. And that was the most important thing I think that a college course has ever given me, was critical thinking and the choice to believe what I want, but also the responsibility to defend your beliefs, and understand why you believe something, and not to argue, not to like get defensive or have to like prove yourself or prove your beliefs, but genuinely, like, if you walk into this class and I'm like, well, I believe this and this counters that, like that wasn't a good way of explaining it. I avoided philosophy for so long because I knew that I couldn't give reason for why I believed what I believed in more so than a religious context, just like kind of a philosophy of life as a whole. I knew that I had these instilled beliefs, but I couldn't back them up. And I knew that I was going to be presented with other things that made more sense, and that was going to counter what I was told to believe or what I was supposed to believe. And it really scared the living shit out of me. And I don't really know what shifted. I think that I just got really excited and was like, I need to take this course. And she was still to this day, I think definitely hands down favorite professor, one of the smartest women I've ever taken a class with. And I never felt forced to change what I believed. I never felt like I was being interrogated or, anything of that nature. I genuinely felt like I just was presented with a different way of looking at life. And that was so transformational, because I didn't have the space before then to comfortably question what I believed. I had people in my life who were like, why do you believe that, or anything, but a lot of the times it did feel kind of threatening, or maybe I just wasn't ready to like open my perspective, because I think I've always known what my take is on the world and life and the afterlife and my perspective on those things. But I was just raised in a different type of community with different beliefs. I also I take that back, I did take a world religions course when I was at my larger university. And because it was a larger university, I unfortunately did not like really put my all into it, because I was a fuck all 18-year-old who was like, I just won't go to class because they don't take attendance, because it was too big to really keep track of all that. But I did go to some. And when I did, I was one of those that I was like, fuck class, but I will read every single textbook that we have cover to cover. So I still learned, and did all the essays and everything. But that class too really, really opened my eyes, because in a small southern town, we didn't really discuss other religions. It wasn't like I lived in a place that it was frowned upon or talked about really negatively, at least in my bubble. I don't feel like it was anything that was directed with hate, or hate was directed towards it. But I didn't really have the option of believing in anything else, because I didn't know. Like, I didn't know anybody else. It was either you believed in Christianity or you didn't believe in anything at all. There was one person that I knew who had a different religion and a different practice, and I was always in awe of that. But I didn't really know many people, and maybe that was just my white ass bubble that I lived in, and it probably was. But I lived in a white ass bubble town, so you can't blame me for that. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, that was the first time really that I got to dive into the religions, and just also see that they were saying the same shit. I also watched a lot of people debate, and that also really opened my eyes, because my professor was very intelligent and also very articulate in the way that he would counter with these freshman idiots who thought that they knew everything. he was very poised and he held himself very well when he had conversations. And same in my philosophy courses. And I think that's what made me really have so much respect for them and the courses that I was taking, because, you know, with religion, it's very much like you have to believe this because you just have to. And there's not a lot of discussion about it. I used to try and really get into theology because I was like, I want to talk about this. I want to discuss this, because I'm not saying that this isn't true. And I'm not saying that divine isn't real at all. Quite the opposite. Like, I've known that that was real my whole entire life. But I just wanted to discuss some of the political and social and historical logistics of it. And they weren't having that. No surprise. But I always wanted to discuss, and I always wanted to take in other perspectives, because I was really confined by the idea that it was just this one way and everybody else was wrong. I think I had a really, really hard time with that one, because I was like, what do you mean the rest of the world is wrong? The rest of the world is going to hell. The rest of the world, whatever. Because I had, especially my friend who had a different culture and religion, I was like, they're the happiest, kindest, sweetest, most loving humans ever. And what do you mean they're wrong and that the life that they live is incorrect? And I think too, religion also pushed you to convert people. And I would like try and convince other people to believe in something that I didn't even fully believe in, but I was told to convince other people that I believed in it. Or I was told to convince other people that they should believe in it. Excuse me. And that's a really, really, really wild concept. Religion is crazy. And I did not think that I was going to talk about any of this, because I have Libra season notes and soup, and I wanted to talk about the history of the calendar. But I went on a rant about religion, which we can still get into, because actually this will translate very well into the history of the calendar. Okay, because here's where this came from. I was sitting there and I was so excited that it was Libra season and that it was fall. It's my favorite season in the entire world. I love it. I love the air. I love the energy. I love the way that everything shifts. It is just the best. I think most people agree. I'm so happy that we're in fall season, whatever. I'm so happy we're in fall now. And I wanted to talk about like the emergence of fall and the equinox and all those things. And then I just started thinking about the timelines and the seasons, because everything in my life has revolved around cycles and seasons. And I have, within the past 2 years, really, really, really shifted to where fuck January 1st. Fuck it. Fuck that being the new year. I think I've always felt that way, but I truly, truly, with all of my chest, was like, fuck the new year being in the middle of winter when we are supposed to be dead and rotting. Like, get fucked with that. I think it is the stupidest thing in the entire world. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, who the fuck messed with that? Who switched the calendar over and was like, no, we're going to do that? Because up until like 500 BC, not even 500, I think it's like 50 BC, we, as humans, everybody went by the seasons, because of crops and harvest. And, you know, it was just like the flow of a natural human being to go by the seasons. Who the fuck messed with that? The Romans, obviously. And I didn't even really get into like the details of why, because I couldn't really find like why. Let's Google it. Why did Julius Caesar change the beginning of the year to January? Because January it comes from what? Janus, which is like one of the Roman gods for new beginnings. And I'm like, sick, that's great. Keep your name. call March January and start it from there. It's the season time that pisses me off. Why are we January 1st? Like that, we've never, as humans, ever, we have operated in terms of the solstices and the equinoxes and why? Just why? Okay, with the Julian calendar it took effect, but why? Like, why? I don't think that Google is really understanding my question. He wanted January to be the first month of the year instead of March because of the namesake. That's fine, but do you understand what I'm saying when I'm saying obviously we can't do this now because this would just be insane, but like at the time, why didn't you just call January March? No, why didn't you just call March January? Like January starts March 21st, the equinox. It would be January 21st. But you get what I'm saying. It's confusing as fuck when I say it like this. But when I'm looking at it, I'm like, just, yeah, keep it January, but have it start on the spring equinox because that is when the beginning of the fucking year is. So Google's not really fully getting, because I did like a shit ton of research on this earlier, and I learned a lot, which was really cool, but they're not understanding my question. Because I still am aggravated by my answer. It's not, do you guys understand what I'm saying? This is also something that's fucking crazy. There was a time period, I think it was like 5 years or something like that. Before Julius Caesar messed with everything, he also thought that the year was supposed to be 445 days long. So glad that we took advice from this man. And it fucked everything up for a while. And they're called the years of confusion because nobody really knew like what day it was technically, or like what was going on. Like we didn't get our calendar shit in order until I have dates. When did we get our calendar? Oh, 1577. Still, we did not get our calendar shit in order until 1577. Where's the whack one? Greece waited until 1923 to adopt that modern calendar. Because in the 1500s, no, that would be the 1600s. No, I'm thinking, whatever. Anyways, in the 1500s, right? Am I having a stroke? What am I thinking of? I know that that's the right time period. What am I thinking of? That's like, it's like a year. If I say like the 15th century. See, this is something that slipped my fucking brain. Yes, they're different. The 15th century is from 1401 to 1500. While the 1500s refer to the 16th century. Whatever. I hate that. Anyways, in the 1500s, we finally were like, hey, let's get mathematicians in here to figure this out. Because everybody kept fucking up the calendar because the Earth isn't 365 days long. It's 365.245, blah, 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 whatever numbers. And nobody could figure that out because it was BC. And so everybody would like set their calendars, and then that's why we have a leap year, because it helps to kind of stay on track with that 0.24 whatever. But nobody knew that at the time. So they were just trying to make everything even, and then they would get 30 to 100 years down the line, and then everything would be unaligned, and it would be shifted, and we would be like 2 weeks off. And no one really like cared until the Christians were like, but Easter is like 2 weeks off and now we have to fix everything. And that's when they brought Julius Caesar in. And he like kind of fixed it, but not well enough, because he like fucked up a lot of times before he even got it right. And then I think after that, everybody was just trying their best. And then in the 1500s, we were like, we should really get a mathematician and astronomer in here to like really do some fine calculations. And then they finally figured it out. So I guess, and there's still like some kind of debate over like whether or not our calendar really is the most accurate. I can't think about that because that's going to freak me out. But I would like to hope that we've got it figured out and that our calendar is our calendar. Regardless, why isn't January on the spring equinox? I'm going to pause and I'll cut this because I have to find the answer to this question. I'm frustrated. Why wasn't January 1st on the spring equinox? Did I say fall? Did I say March? I don't know what I'm saying. On the spring anxious. No, equinox. Thank you. it's just based on Roman political tradition and not, the astronomical and flow of the earth. Okay, cool. It was a political decision, shocker, by the Romans. Everything was a political decision. And that's my frustration with religion. And I won't get into that. I don't know if I've ever said this. I feel like I said this on another podcast. Anytime I ever go on a rant about religion, I am discussing the social and political human aspect of it. Okay? I'm very, obviously, the divine is very important to me. I'm discussing humans because humans made religion. No, like there's not an answer other than politics. And what do you mean politics? They just did it because they just did it. I hate that. It was seen as a natural day for new beginnings, even though it's in the dead of fucking winter. Oh, deeply rooted Roman tradition, persisted despite the astronomical reality that the spring equinox or the longest day of the year would be a more natural start. Point blank, period. You can't even fight me on that. That is the stupidest decision I've ever seen and will probably never even really get a full answer for because there isn't an answer. January 1st may have been the equinox. Terrible time for renewal. Yeah, the dead of winter. Okay, wait. The Washington Post might have some information for me. And I can't read it. Why is that? Why is that? Journalism. I'm literally a journalism major. I understand, but let me read it. Okay. Anyways, that was a fun tangent. To tie it all back, my whole point of that was happy fall. The new year is spring, point blank. And so spring is like the time of new beginnings and planting seeds and becoming alive again. And then summer is like the time that you take action and you get your full burst of energy and you start to take action to align with your plans. This is from an energetic standpoint, but also a nature standpoint. And then fall is harvest. So like I am fucking ready, I'll tell you, to harvest from my work I did this summer. And that sounds like my hard work. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean like a slave hustle type of thing. I genuinely just mean like I flowed very heavy with the seasons this year and I didn't force anything because I used to have unravelings because I love the idea of, the whole flow of energy. Spring comes, that's when you set intentions. Summer, what I just said. But I would try and do it when I was told to do it, which was January 1st, which is stupid. And then I would be so upset as to why I couldn't, take action, which also, even still, the very beginning of spring is like the new moon phase. It's not go and take action. It's plant seeds, begin thinking about what you want to be doing. Like wake up from the winter, get your body moving. Like when you're done with yoga class, you don't sprint out. You're not supposed to sprint out. You slowly reawaken your body and come back to yourself and slowly exit and transition. You're not supposed to just rush into it. And, we're told as a society that make your New Year's resolutions in January 1st, take off fucking running. No. And I think never again. And I think a lot of people have really realized that. Maybe one day we'll change that shit because I can't even believe that we operate that way. But I mean, I choose not to, but that's the way the calendar flows. But I will never flow that way. I will always begin my new cycle in the spring, because that just, you flow so much better. And this year I feel like is the first year that I've fully done it, with my chest. And I am really seeing the benefits of that. It's like cycle syncing with your own body. You know, when you flow with what is natural, with nature, you can only succeed, and you're not pushing and like swimming upstream and running into walls. It's like, yes, I'm a human and I still have life and the things that happen, but like scratch. I also am seeing too, like the time that it takes for manifestation to come in, because I think also with the rise of manifestation, which is amazing because yes, but you know, you can manifest things fast and you can get what you want. But I think that with the rise of it being so modern, it's like losing a little bit of depth to it and understanding behind it. And when you're manifesting, yes, it can be instant and yes, it can be fast, but also there's different, I don't want to say different levels of manifesting, but like when you're trying to really manifest like a huge shift, like you're not sitting there like, I want to manifest $500. You want to manifest like an entire different way of being and existing and perceiving the world. That shit takes time. And like I did that this year. Like I did not sit down and have some small goals. I was like, I want, by the time I circle back around to March of next year, I want to be living a completely different life in the best ways. But I wanted a complete and total shift, and then got frustrated a month after when like it wasn't happening. And now I'm really seeing like when you want to manifest something very big or like that has layers, doing it with the seasons and the cycles is so important, because then I'm not like, I don't know, forcing it all within like a small moon cycle or a month or whatever. I'm taking the time over spring to like fully think about what I want. Like I didn't start March 21st and go, okay, this is exactly what I want. I took all of spring to really dream and wake up and reconnect with nature and look at my life and be in touch with myself and say, what do I want to shift and why? And I just got lightheaded. I wonder if my groceries are here. I bet they are. I think my groceries are outside. I should check on that. I should check on that. Okay. That's gonna be a pain in the ass to match up, but okay, I'm hungry as fuck, so I've got to stop yelling. Taking the time in spring and then really using summer as my form of action. And that's why, like in the beginning, as I was bitching about how busy I've been, I think I truly have not just had a summer where I've let it be summer. I've always hated summer. I feel like I live in a very internal fall/winter, and I despise hustle so much that sometimes I lack initiative in some places. And I think that summer is really hard to be in a season of that work energy, because I really value going inward, and it's foreign to me to stay in kind of an action-based energy for so long. But I think it helps me really appreciate the seasons. And also, like, now that it's fall, I'm going to fully embrace that. And then when it's winter, I'm going to fully embrace that. And I'm not going to feel like I'm, going against whatever season it is, because I can tell, like, last season, I was just so excited for winter, that I entered winter really early. I probably entered winter, like, mentally November. And winter is not until December 21st. Like, that's the first day of winter. And yes, November and December get cold, but like, it's not technically winter. And I entered winter probably like November 1st. And I was like, oh my God, yes, because I'm just so tired and I want to rest. And February was excruciating, because in my experience, when I've entered seasons really early or stayed in them too long, I get out of whack. I get out of balance because I'm not going with that natural flow. So, I've really seen how that affects my energy levels, and also just gives me appreciation for whatever season we enter, because I, have my favorite seasons, and then I want to grip onto them and despise the other ones and not take full advantage of the energy. And this year I really made peace with summer, which is really nice because I fucked with her. We had a really good time. And now I'm really excited for fall, and I just want to be in that energy for a really long time, and not enter an early winter so that I can like actually appreciate it and, not be at war with the seasons and the natural cycle of things. Yeah, happy fall, everybody. I'm fucking stoked. It's Libra season. It's no longer Virgo season. My brain feels like it can kind of breathe. Virgo season was a lot. I normally really love it, and I did, but it was just there was so much happening, and like I'm just really happy to have a break. I'm really happy to enter Libra season. It's very light. At least it feels that way. Libra is such an artistic, aesthetic, harmonious, balanced, intellectual sign, and she's truly just, she's ruled by Venus. She is beautiful, and I'm really, really excited for her energy this year. I have hopes. I haven't done a lot of looking ahead on it because I was way too engulfed in whatever the fuck the last month and a half was, but I have hopes, and I haven't seen anything scary, so I think it's supposed to be a pretty good light season. The Mercury retrograde isn't until like November, which we just got done with that. Time is flying. Like I know every single year we're like, time is flying. I am at awe with this year. I've never in my life felt like, oh fuck, it's already fall. Because like I said, I hate summer. That last August is hell. August is painful. One year I started decorating for Halloween August 1st, which is ridiculous, but I wanted it over so badly. And when it hit fall this year, I was like, holy shit. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's already the 25th and it's not still the 21st? It's still the 21st in my head. It's still the first day of fall. That's crazy. Time is flying, which honestly, cool, because 2025 is wild. I respect it. I've had a good time. It's just been like, fuck, dude. Fuck. Yeah. The astrological weather is celebrate. I have a lot of like post-eclipse clarity a lot, where like pieces just kind of start to like fit together, and I'm like, oh shit, like that makes sense. So like I recommend like journaling or whatever your form of kind of like connection is, like reflection, meditating, sitting in silence, art, however you kind of like connect with that, because I've already felt a lot more like things are just making sense, and puzzle pieces are fitting together. So yeah, congratulations. You did it. I think it'll probably fully feel really done like by the next new moon, because the moon cycle did begin with an eclipse. So like it kind of has those themes throughout this next cycle, but it's not going to be very intense. You can go ahead and do your rituals and your magic and all your fun shit for the full moon, because now we're not really under that murky influence. So you can begin your fun shit again without feeling like so much confusion. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, this was fun and completely unplanned and went in so many different directions, but I feel good about it. I'm gonna go and make stew. So I'll see you guys next week.